You ever read a name on someone else's phone and feel your stomach drop before your brain even catches up? That's what happened to me one Thursday night at a team dinner when I glanced down at my boss's phone as it lit up on the table beside us. The screen said, "Call from Madison Hartz." Madison, my wife. At first, I told myself it had to be a coincidence. Madison's not exactly a rare name. But the heart emoji? That made my skin prickle. I tried not to stare as the screen dimmed, then lit up again a second later. Same name, same symbol. He let it go to voicemail. My boss, Daniel Carr, was mid-laugh, telling a story about golfing in Scottsdale, completely unbothered. Meanwhile, I sat frozen, my fork halfway to my mouth, suddenly not hungry at all. Let me rewind. I'm Nate Walters, 36, marketing director for a fast-scaling consumer goods company based in Charlotte. I've been grinding in this industry for over a decade. Late nights, endless travel, impossible KPIs, the whole package. But I finally made it. 6 figures, corner office, people below me who actually return my emails on time. Daniel, my boss, is the VP of strategy. Early 40s, sharp dresser, total extrovert, the kind of guy who remembers everyone's birthday and charms the interns and the boardroom alike. I looked up to him for a long time, thought he was the real deal. And Madison? She's 34. Teaches yoga, part-time at a local studio. We met 6 years ago at a mutual friend's New Year's party. I fell hard. She was grounded, easygoing, thoughtful in a way that felt rare. We got married after 2 years. We don't have kids. Not yet. But we were planning. Or at least, I thought we were. We'd hit a weird patch lately. I chalked it up to my work schedule, 12-hour days, back-to-back travel, too many nights falling asleep with my laptop open. She said she understood, said she was proud of me. That night, after dinner, I couldn't shake it. I waited until I got home to bring it up. As casually as I could, I asked, "Hey, do you know anyone named Daniel Carr?" Madison didn't flinch, just tilted her head. "Isn't he your boss?" "Yeah," I said slowly. "You two ever met?" She hesitated, just a beat, but I caught it. Then, "No, I don't think so. Why?" And there it was. The first lie. I didn't press, just nodded and said, "Thought I saw your name pop up on his phone." She smiled. Weird, maybe he knows another Madison. I let it go. But the next morning, while she was in the shower, I checked her phone. She had a passcode now. She never used to. I didn't try to guess it. Not then. I wasn't ready to admit to myself what that would mean. Instead, I pulled up LinkedIn on my work laptop and searched Madison's profile. Nothing unusual, but when I clicked to view her connections, one of the top ones listed, with a little green dot showing he was active, was Daniel Carr, not just a connection. Endorsed. Multiple mutual comments. A photo from a networking event 2 years ago that she never told me about. Her in a black dress, I remembered. Daniel in a gray suit, standing too close. Caption: "Small world, big ideas. Grateful for connections like this." I clicked away from the screen like it had burned me. I wanted to believe it meant nothing, that they crossed paths once, smiled for a photo, and moved on. But deep down, I knew better. People don't put heart emojis next to casual contacts. People don't lie about someone they barely know. Something had happened, and I was about to find out exactly what. I didn't sleep that night, not really. I laid in bed next to Madison, listening to the gentle rhythm of her breathing, wondering how many nights she'd slept this peacefully, while I sat in boardrooms praising Daniel Carr, the man who might have known my wife before I ever did. By 3 a.m., I was wide awake, scrolling through old photos on my phone, anniversary dinners, beach trips, company retreats, and suddenly, one image stopped me cold. It was from a holiday party almost 3 years ago, the company's big end-of-year blowout at a rooftop downtown. I had brought Madison as my +1. We looked happy, her in a green velvet dress, me in a charcoal suit. She had one arm wrapped around me, and in the background, Daniel Carr, looking straight at her. And she was looking back, not smiling, not waving, just locked in, like they were the only two people in the room. I'd never noticed it before, never thought twice about that photo, but now I couldn't unsee it. The tension, the familiarity, the quiet look between two people who had history. I couldn't pretend anymore. The next morning, I drove to the office early, earlier than usual. I sat in the parking garage for almost 40 minutes, thinking about what I was about to do, wondering if I was crazy, wondering if I was right. At 8:15, I went straight to IT. Now, here's the thing most people don't realize. If you've been with a company long enough and you know how to ask politely, there's almost always someone willing to help you. Off the record. His name was Caleb. Mid-30s. Quiet. Sharp. He once helped me recover a corrupted deck an hour before a client pitch, and I never forgot it. I need access to Daniel Carr's travel logs, I told him. Just domestic stuff. Flights, hotels. Don't need passwords, just dates and cities. He stared at me. That's not exactly standard protocol. I know, I said, but something's off. And if I'm wrong, I'll owe you a steak dinner. He didn't say yes, but 15 minutes later, a spreadsheet landed in my inbox. No signature, no note, just a list of trip dates, locations, hotel confirmations. I opened my calendar and started matching. Madison had taken 3 yoga retreats in the last 2 years. 2 of them lined up exactly with Daniel's travel. Same weekends, same cities. Phoenix, August. Denver, February. She said she was with other instructors. I never pushed, never questioned it. I cross-checked hotel names. Both times, Daniel stayed at a high-end boutique, not the usual corporate-approved chain we all used. So did Madison. Not the same room, but the same hotel. I couldn't breathe. I stood up from my desk, walked into the hallway, and stared out the window at nothing. People were chatting near the coffee bar. Someone was laughing at something stupid. The world kept moving, completely unaware that something inside me had just cracked wide open. Daniel arrived at 9:02 a.m. Usual routine. Greeted the front desk, stopped by Cheryl's office, then headed to his own with a coffee and a copy of the journal under his arm. I waited until noon. Then I knocked on his door. He looked up and smiled. "Nate, what's up? Got a sec?" "Sure, come on in." I shut the door behind me, didn't sit. "I need to ask you something, and I'm only going to ask it once." His eyes shifted, just barely. "Okay. How long have you known Madison?" He blinked. "Your wife?" "Yes. Don't play dumb." He leaned back slowly in his chair. Didn't speak for a moment. Then, "We crossed paths before you and I started working together, a long time ago." "Crossed paths," I repeated. He nodded, slower now. "Look, Nate, don't lie to me." Silence. Then something hardened in his face. A quiet resignation. "It was brief," he said. "Years ago, before you and she were serious. You're telling me she never mentioned it?" "I assumed you knew." He was lying. I knew it in the way he shifted his posture, the way his voice dropped into that "let's be reasonable" tone he used in negotiations. "You hooked up with my wife," I said, voice flat, "and never said a word, while I was working under you, bringing her to events, letting you shake her hand like she was just another +1. Daniel looked down, didn't answer. That was all the confirmation I needed. I turned and walked out. I didn't quit, not yet. I didn't confront Madison, not that night. I needed more, needed the whole truth, not just the edges. Because now I knew my career wasn't just built on hard work and late nights. It had been built on something else entirely, a lie, and I was going to burn down every piece of it, one match at a time. I didn't go home that night, texted Madison that I was working late, which wasn't a lie technically. I just didn't say what I was working on. Instead, I checked into a business hotel across town with a kitchenette and a view of the highway, the kind of place that looks like it was made for mid-level consultants and quiet divorces. I wasn't sure what I was yet, consultant or soon-to-be divorcee. I spent the next 4 hours digging, not guessing, digging. Pulled up her Instagram, her location tags, comments from friends I didn't recognize, found a yoga instructor she'd mentioned once, Bree, and cross-checked her page. That's when I found it. A blurry group shot from the Phoenix trip. 4 women. One of them, clearly Madison, cropped halfway out, her arm around someone just off frame. In the comments, someone asked, "Is that Dan Carr?" "Ha! What's he doing there?" No reply. Comment deleted 2 days later, but the cache still had it. I screen capped everything. Then I opened the cloud folder I had forgotten about. A shared album Madison and I used to drop vacation pics and stuff for our holiday cards. She hadn't added to it in over a year. I hadn't even checked it in months. Buried in an old folder labeled Weekend Randoms was a selfie, one I'd never seen. Madison, hotel room mirror, hair pulled back, wearing a white robe. The robe had an embroidered logo on the chest, the exact boutique hotel Daniel had stayed at in Denver. Date stamp, February 11th. The same weekend, she'd told me she was in Boulder with her cousin. That was the first time I really felt it. Not suspicion, not tension, full betrayal. No wiggle room. No, maybe I misunderstood. Just fact. They'd been involved, and they'd both kept it from me, at home, at work. While I was pouring my life into both places, they were hiding in plain sight. At my table, in my world. I didn't smash anything, didn't scream. I just closed the laptop, leaned back, and stared at the ceiling for a long time. Then I got up, opened my bag, pulled out the company laptop, opened a blank document, and started writing a report titled Daniel Carr, Pattern of Misconduct, Undisclosed Relationship, and Ethical Risk. It wasn't revenge. It was documentation. I outlined everything, not just the personal overlap, but what it meant for the company, the potential for nepotism, undisclosed conflicts of interest, and the way it could compromise leadership decisions. I backed it with evidence. Travel overlaps, social media connections, private corroboration without naming sources for now. I framed it professionally, cold, precise, unemotional, because here's the truth. Corporate knives don't cut when you swing wildly. They cut when you slide them in quietly. The next morning, I met with one person. Her name was Julia Ramos, our corporate compliance officer, sharp, no-nonsense, mid-40s. We'd crossed paths a few times on internal training calls, but never spoke directly. I handed her the folder. Before this gets bigger, I said, "You should know what's sitting under your roof." She didn't blink, just nodded and said, "We'll take this seriously." And I believed her. Because 2 hours later, Daniel Carr was pulled into a meeting he didn't schedule, and I was quietly moved off his reporting chain. That night, Madison called. I picked up. Her voice was light. "Hey, just checking in. You okay? You didn't come home last night?" "No," I said. "I didn't." A pause. "What's going on?" "I know everything, Maddie." Silence. Then, What do you mean?" "Phoenix, Denver, Daniel. Don't lie to me again." A long breath, and then she broke. Not crying. Not yet. Just cracked. "I never meant for it to go that far," she whispered. "But it did. It was before we were serious. I didn't know you worked together at first, and when I found out, I didn't know how to tell you." "So you said nothing," I said. "Yes, and just kept showing up. With him. With me. Pretending." "I'm sorry, Nate." But sorry was a word she'd worn down to the bone. I didn't hang up, just sat with the silence, until I said, "You need to move out." Another pause. I figured. She didn't beg, didn't scream, because she knew. And by the end of the week, she was gone. And Daniel. He wasn't fired. Not yet. But word had started to spread. Quietly. Internally. Upward. I had planted the seed. Now I just had to wait for it to bloom. By the end of the month, Daniel Carr didn't walk through the office like he used to. No more coffee in hand, good morning to everyone energy. No more last-minute strategic check-ins, where he mostly repeated what I'd already written. The man who used to light up every room started avoiding them. He stayed in his office, late nights, quiet exits, and when he did talk, his voice had lost its shine. Like he knew the walls were listening now, because they were. Julia Ramos had pulled me into a follow-up meeting the week after I'd handed her the report. She was meticulous, focused, not warm, but fair. "We're investigating quietly," she said. "We've already found gaps in his disclosures and inconsistencies in travel reimbursements. It's going to take time, but it's moving." That was enough. I didn't need a headline. I didn't need him marched out with a box in his arms. I just needed the truth to stick to him the way it stuck to me. Quiet, permanent, professional ruin, one policy violation at a time. Madison moved out on a Thursday. No drama, no note. She took her clothes, a few books, and the ceramic mug I bought her in Asheville because she liked the glaze. I found it missing from the shelf and laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so small. After everything, that was what she wanted to keep. She texted once, "I'm sorry for all of it. I hope one day you'll forgive me." I didn't answer. She didn't text again. Instead, I got back to work, took over the flagship client Daniel had been coasting on, closed a new contract with a retail chain we'd been chasing for 2 years, quietly rebuilt every bridge he'd let burn under his name. Cheryl called me into her office one afternoon. You've been consistent, she said. Level-headed, despite everything. I just nodded. We'll be restructuring soon. There may be an opportunity at the director level. I'll keep you in the loop. I said thank you. But inside, I felt nothing. I wasn't chasing titles anymore. I'd already gotten what I came for. A few weeks later, I passed Daniel in the hallway. He looked tired, gray around the edges, suit wrinkled, face unreadable. Nate, he said, nodding. Daniel. He didn't say anything else, just kept walking. He knew, not just what I'd done, but how I'd done it. I didn't explode. I didn't blow it up. I let the truth do the work, let it seep into the seams of his career like a slow leak in a foundation he thought was indestructible. He was still there, still drawing a paycheck, but everyone knew his name didn't mean what it used to. And that kind of rot, it spreads. I never told anyone outside of work what happened. Not my friends, not my family, not even my brother, who always swore Daniel was too slick to trust. It wasn't about gossip. It was about clarity. Madison made her choices. Daniel made his. And I made mine. I gave everything I had, to my marriage, to my career, and I watched both of them bend under the weight of someone else's secrets. But now I go home to a quiet apartment that's mine. Now I work for a future I'm actually in charge of. Now I see people for who they are, not who they pretend to be when the lights are on. I didn't lose everything. I just lost what wasn't real, and I'm finally okay with that.